welcome to the 7th episode of the By Steve Rowe podcast, a photography podcast that also looks at travel and social media. And from the top, I am sorry for not uploading last week. I was just suffering from major burnout. I didn't want to do any photography. I just didn't want to do any YouTube. Buying Detroit Become Human on PS4 was partly to blame. I told myself I wouldn't let PS4 get in the way of productivity. But it just happens sometimes. Not all the time. I've been quite good since I got it my PS4 around Christmas time, but yeah, I just had to have a week off, Just listened to my body, and I just played video games. That's what my body was telling me to do. Quick mini review on Detroit Become Human. One of the best games, story-wise, that I've ever played. Not as good as Last of Us, of course. But if you're looking for a good Cyberpunk game and you are waiting for the release of Cyberpunk 2077, which has finally been unveiled at E3, go ahead and check out Detroit Become Human. It's very story-driven, basically. You're not going to be doing much action, but it's one of those games where every decision you make has a snowball effect. There's a ton of different endings, so my ending that I got would be different to your ending. I don't know, go check it out. That sounds like a good ad, right? A good plug. I should start getting ads, people sponsoring the show. I could sell anything. Right, so yeah, so sorry for no content last week. I just didn't really have any topics. I just didn't really know what to do to make it interesting, and plus I didn't really have any new photos to edit. But after this weekend's exhibit at the Scrap, it wasn't, once I got there, it didn't really feel like an exhibit of my own work, because my work was basically spread out among 3 rooms. So I had like 2 photos in one room, and then 3, and then whatever. But yeah, I think it was good to see my work printed, and it would be good to like finally do an exhibit where it's just my work. But thank you to everyone who came down and bought prints. Means a lot, really does. And yeah, it was good fun overall. There was a lot of good work there, a lot of other good artists. So yeah, on to the next one, whenever that may be. We'll keep my eye out for any exhibit openings. Some people ask me, how did I get to this exhibit? This one was on an invite. They just invited me. So I have no tips on how to get into exhibits yet. I'm still finding that out myself, but I reckon it's mostly down to just networking and putting your work out there as much as possible. So get on that if you want to be part of an exhibit. And then, so after that exhibit, I went for a little bit of a shoot around Seoul Station where the exhibit was held. And I happened to get one of my most popular posts on Instagram ever. It just blew my mind. The thing got over 8,000 likes, and it's still climbing. 8,000 likes on my Instagram account. That is mad. I've got 14,000 followers now, and that engagement rate over 50%, still climbing. Like I said, like I just don't know what happened. I asked my friend Jack Anstey, who's got a landscape photography account that's over 30,000. He said sometimes your work gets put on that explore page when people hit the magnifying glass, and when it does that, maybe it hangs around for a while, like longer than usual, and you just rack up those likes. And so yeah, 8,000 likes. The only problem with it is it just mashed my Instagram for the post the day after, because people were still responding to that, because that one's obviously the most popular, so that was getting like way more exposure than the post that I did after. So I don't know, that is quite annoying. I'm just gonna not post tonight, just let that one get a little bit more engagement, because I feel like it deserves it. So once I've cracked the riddle of Instagram's algorithms, I'll be sure to give some details on that. So yeah, these were the 5 photos. Did happen to get that 8,000 likes, which is pretty sweet. So moving on to the topic of the week for photography. This topic came to me today, actually, whilst I was at work. I was just looking through Medium, thinking like, what's the next topic I could write about on Medium, and then I thought, how to build your confidence when doing street photography. So I think what I'm going to be doing now is that everything that I talk about on the podcast will be down in written form on Medium, vice versa. It's just another way to, digest the content. If you do better with reading or listening, now you've got two options. So building confidence with street photography. Now, when you're starting out with photography, and still I'm relatively new to it because I've only been doing it for a year and three months now, so I'm still relatively new. However, I've put in lots of hours, and it's one of those things, you start to become much better once you put in those hours. But one thing that I still struggle with is confidence on the streets. What I'm talking about is taking a photo of a person, of a complete stranger, one of those candid photos. Now, a lot of my photos do have the subject of a stranger, a candid moment, and there are plenty of shots that I've also missed with a candid moment, because I think one in particular. I was in Hong Kong walking down the streets, and there was this construction yard, and sat outside of the construction yard was a female builder, and she was wearing the high-vis jacket, she was wearing a fluorescent helmet, and she was wearing like a headscarf underneath, like very vibrant, very colourful. Whoa, speech impediment coming on there. And basically it was just she herself was very vibrant. The next best thing was that she was kind of sat on a low wall, and next to her was a big pot of flowers. I don't know why they were there, but she was sat next to a big pot of. And I'm back. I don't know what happened there with the microphone. It just bugged out big time. Anyway, so she was sat next to a big pot of flowers, and the whole scene looked incredible. It was so colourful, and so I had my camera, and I was just about to lift it up, and then she just looked straight at me, and then just looked away, and that just threw me off. I was like, oh man, she's onto me. But in hindsight, as I walked away, completely frustrated with the moment, in hindsight, I was like, of course she was not onto me. She was just looking around, and she just happened to catch my gaze, the way that happens in just normal life situations. And so I was cursing myself for the rest of the day that I didn't take that shot. And even now, I still regret that I never took that shot, because honestly, it was one of the most beautiful compositions I've ever witnessed. And I just didn't take that shot, and it was all due to just a lack of confidence. I just bottled it as soon as she saw me, and and now I don't have the shot. Another time it happened was when this was recently on that Songdo shoot, which I've spoken about on a previous podcast, with the Korea's International City of the Future, as dubbed, not my quote. During a very good shoot there was a store that I walked past. It was a bar, I think, and it had this really nice neon display of a moon in the window, and in front of it was a girl smoking. And I was about to lift my camera, and again she looked at me, and I was like, nah, I can't take it. Even though she looked away, but I just couldn't then, because I'd already started to walk past, so I'd already lost the composition. Whereas, some photographers would have still took that shot even as she was looking over. So how can we fix this? And if you've started out with photography or doing photography, you probably feel this as well. It's just that a bit of fear, oh my God, something bad could happen if I just took this shot. And now I'm starting to realize, and I'm starting to focus on, since that Songdo shoot, and I'm just starting to realize there's not that much that could go wrong if someone just didn't want their photo to be taken. Now, the worst thing that could happen is Justin Bieber could just punch you in the face, which he did to one paparazzi photographer. But that's a paparazzi photographer, those are swarming flies. With a street photographer, you're a stranger to them, which is why it's uncomfortable, and they're wondering why you're taking their photo. So what could happen now if you took a photo of someone and they disapproved? I think 9 times out of 10 they're not going to be confrontational about it. I don't think they're going to come up and tell you. I mean, I've been taking thousands of photos on the streets of Seoul, and not one single person came up to me. Now, sometimes they might come up to you, and if they do come up to you, when I've been reading into this, they're just going to be like, please delete that photo that you just took of me. Now, when they do that, they might be a little bit irritated, and they might be a tiny bit angry. But all you've got to do is just explain, like, calmly, like, I mean, I've not put this into practice yet, but I'm sure this would be the best thing, and I've read about it a lot. The best thing to do, just to be calmly say, yeah, sorry, I'm just a hobbyist photographer. I'll delete it straight away, no problem, no harm done. And I'm sure, you show them your screen, you show them deleting it, you show them you scrolling through and to show that there's no other photos of them, and they'll be happy, they'll move along. I doubt any time someone's going to get violent, and if they do, it's just unlucky. Just get out of there as quick as you can. So one tip that I've actually found when I take photos of people and they have like a weird look at me, like, did that guy just take my photo? What I've done, this happened on a shoot like a couple of weeks ago, and I was taking a photo of this old guy walking past a beech tree, but a neon beech tree in the rain. Is a pretty sweet shot. And he's looking directly into the camera, and he was staring at me the whole time I was leveling up the camera at the time of shooting, and then after he was staring at me, and he looked a bit like, that guy's just took my photo. But to diffuse it, I started looking up at the scene above him, because above him, there was like a big neon statue. I don't know what it is supposed to be. It's weird, but it's basically 3 cement pillars holding up a big neon ball, and it's about 6 stories high. It's pretty ugly, I can't lie. But I started looking at that, and looking at it like, yeah, that's probably a good shot. And then he turned around, he looked up at the statue, and then he carried on. And so he thought he totally bought my little act that, he was taking a photo of something else. I just happened to be in the same direction. So that's something for you to think about. If you can perhaps look like you're interested in something else, or you're looking at above someone, then they're probably not gonna, they probably didn't take a photo of me. I do that a lot when I'm photographing in the streets. I look up at the neon signs after I take a photo. If someone's walking towards me and they're quite close, as soon as I bring the camera down, I keep looking up at the neon signs, thinking, looking like I'm thinking for a better angle, or if it was a good shot, that kind of thing. So that's like my one tip, something that I've started doing. But yeah, the only other thing is to just keep shooting, keep going out there, and just, getting used to that really uncomfortable feeling that you're doing something wrong. It's strange, it's not like a question really of just someone's general self-confidence, because I myself, I'm very comfortable around strangers. I've worked in a lot of jobs like sales and customer service base. I used to work in a phone store, and I had the most angriest people in the world coming up to me, calling me horrible names and getting very aggressive. And I could deal with that. I had the confidence, and I always diffused the situation. And I'm a teacher now, which also deals with a lot of confidence. You've got to be talking to a load of really sulky Mardi. These are my local dialect words for angry, not angry. Just someone that's reluctant to learn. They're a bit sad. They're a bit angry. That kind of word. We call it Mardi where I'm from, in Leicester, back in the UK. But, you've got to try and be energetic to someone who really doesn't want to be learning from you. That kind of thing. That also requires confidence. And so I think it's just more of the actual situation that you put yourself in. I think that's where you've got to start building up your confidence in just one particular area. And you've got to also just get over that fact that you're not doing something wrong. It's not illegal to take someone's photo without permission. It's illegal. I've been looking into this. It's illegal if you upload that photo and it defames them in any way, like defamatory suing and all that. So if you photograph someone doing something really bad and it affected them, then that's illegal. But the thing is, if it does get taken to the law, I've been reading right into this, you can rely on this. If they take it to the court, they have to provide physical evidence that your photo affected them in a negative way. Say your photo got them sacked, or your photo got them divorced, or whatever. They would have to provide proof that your photo was a direct cause of that. And so, you're just taking photos in the street, is whatever. You're not really going to be doing anything too bad. So have confidence in that. You're not doing anything illegal. So I think that would be your best bet if you're getting any sticky situations, because some could happen. But for me, I've never had a problem, and I don't know anyone who has had a problem. And one other thing is, this is even bigger confidence, is to go up to a stranger and ask them if you can take their photo. Now, I've done this a couple of times. I did it whilst I was backpacking around Asia. I did it in Indonesia. Both times I took photos of strangers with their permission. And I kind of got this thrill from doing it, going up to them and being like, hi, I just do a bit of photography, and I was just wondering if I could take your photo. I'm just doing travel photography, is that okay? And each time every person said yes. I did about 5 or 6. Every time that person said yes. And that really did give me a lot of confidence. However, I kind of lost it once I left that backpacking safety bubble, almost, because it was obvious I was touring. Huge backpack, the clothes I wore were like, typical backpacker attire. And, I think that kind of gave you that safety net that, you can easily tell this guy's just doing for travel photography. So I am yet to actually ask someone on the streets of Seoul or, anywhere like that. But for me, I don't actually need to right now. It's not something that I really want in my photography. I really enjoy just the candid shots, actually, when I'm doing street photography. I think they look a lot better for just my work in general, for whatever. If you're doing travel photography, most definitely try and meet locals and ask to take their photo, because there's a whole story behind it. I got two photos that stand out from memory. One was I forgot what the holiday's called. There was a holiday in Bali, basically, and these two guys were preparing these poles that they put up along the roadside, and they cover them all in flowers. It looks really nice. And they were preparing one, and I went up and I spoke to them about it, and then I was, said, "Oh, can I just take your photo whilst you're doing it?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, just go ahead." And that was it. It was quite a thrilling moment, because that was the very first one I ever did, where I went up to someone. And the second time was this surfer in Bali again, actually, and he was doing headstands on his surfboard. I never even comprehended that could be a thing. It was mad. And as he got out of the water, I was just like talking to him about his surfing and, just all the crazy stunts that he does, how long he's been doing it. And then I was like, "Oh, dude, is it alright if I take your photo?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, man, go ahead." And he did his like surfer sign with his hands, the pinky finger and the thumb up towards the camera, the one I'm talking about. So, those were great moments. And I also did a ton of asking people when I worked at events, like at Glastonbury, when I was working with Soul Community Radio at their events. So, I go up into the crowd and I ask people to pose for the camera, and they're always happy to do so because they're kind of in that environment, right? But to just ask someone on the street, that's tough. Some people are really good at it, and some people, that's their whole photography, to just take photos of strangers that they've asked. And then you move on to people who do stranger photography, I'm going to call it that, but street photography, where they just go straight up to a person and put the camera really close to them and make it so obvious that they're taking a photo of them. And there's a few people that stand out in mind, but I don't know their names. But there's one in particular, I think this is dude from Hong Kong, and he has a huge YouTube channel about photography, and he just goes up to people and just snaps their photo in the street, like super close. And on his videos, some people do have a problem, and other times you actually see people react the complete opposite way, and they're like flattered, and they really like the fact that they've had their photo taken. Mate, one day when I was on the subway in Seoul, I was dressed quite smart, can't remember why, but there was a guy opposite me and he had a huge DSLR camera, like the biggest lens, and he took my photo and I noticed it, and I was like, that guy just took my photo, and I was like, it's probably because I'm looking pretty good right now. I was flattered. I was like, yeah, I am looking good today. I tried hard and it's paying off. So, that could also be the thoughts that runs through someone's mind, because that's the thought that ran through my mind, and I've seen it on that other guy's YouTube channel. So, there you go. That is my chat on confidence with street photography. As always, just practice, and it just slowly builds up, and you start to develop your own techniques. And if you ever do get in a situation where it's quite, like, I'm waiting for that first time where someone's gonna be like, hey, did you take my photo? Because I feel like once you've had that, then I feel like the fear would just go away, because now you know what to expect. Do you know what I mean? Like right now, when I do get these times where I really wish I took a photo, I get nervous about what could the person say, how might they react. But, I think if I had just had it, if it just happened to me, then I might be more confident because I've experienced it. I don't know. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, or send me a message if you've ever had any problems whilst doing street photography. And I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. Keep it short and sweet. This podcast will be up on Medium. Keep an eye out for posts about that. And as always, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. And as always, if you want to support the podcast, head over to www.bystevero.com. There you can purchase any kinds of phone cases and prints and t-shirts and duvet covers and you name it. Redbubble.com has it. The link is in the store on my website. Anything else? Instagram @SteveRowe_. All right. And I'll be back again next week. It's a promise. I hope that I can keep with another topic that I hope you'll find interesting. Okay. I'll see you next week then. Bye-bye.